Most of my Megabonk runs look like this. Oh, I trolled. Oh, I'm rage quitting. Oh my god, bro. I had everything set up for a good run and then I just trolled. Oh, I'm gonna be stuck at second place on the leaderboard. But after many hours spent theory crafting, practicing, and dying, I finally got a run that looks like this. Today, I'm going to take you on the journey of how I conquered Megabonk and managed to hit a 0.1% run. It all started with a stream about a week ago. As per usual, a particularly tilting day of League of Legends chock full of jungle diffs had pushed me to the brink. So, for some peace and quiet, I went to a game without junglers, Megabonk. At this stage, my highest run was 14.9k kills on AMOG, which I was pretty proud of at the time. However, some of my friends were starting to pass me on the leaderboard, which directly threatened my standing in the apartment hierarchy. You see, where I live, we have 3 tiers of flatmates. Tier 1 flatmates get nice benefits like priority seating in the living room, free trips to the grocery store, first dibs on ARAM lobbies. You get the idea. Tier 2 flatmates aren't exactly shunned, but they certainly aren't celebrated either. You may experience some slight discrimination. As a purely random and strictly hypothetical example, you could be conveniently forgotten about when the tier 1s head to the local yum chop, but again, this is just a hypothetical, of course. And the tier 3s, well, best we don't talk about what happens to them. Now, after the recent baby oil incident, I am decidedly a tier 2 flatmate, so in other words, this Megabonk run meant a lot to me. If you want to go for big kill runs in Megabonk, you're going to need a lot of scaling. Usually, this will come from your weapon and tome selection combined with a little, or a lot, of luck from items. The meta has changed a little since I recorded this, but at the time, the most important things were to take scaling tomes. Specifically, XP tome, so you level faster, luck tome, which gives you better odds of rolling good stats and items, and most importantly, difficulty tome, which increases the number of enemies spawned, allowing you to get more XP, items, and kills. All this makes the first stage a lot harder than I was used to, and I probably spent about 20 runs or so by this point just not making it out of stage 1, either because I greeted too much or simply made mistakes. After a quick warm-up game that ended much the same way as all my other runs, my second run of the night had me roll not 1 but 2 legendary items straight off the bat. Funnily enough, I already thought this run was doomed. It feels like it's using too much time, and I'm gonna die to them anyway. Yikes. This run's doomed. Straight up. It's over. I then rolled another 3 legendaries throughout the rest of stage 1, which juiced my healing and damage output even further. And another legendary item? What the fuck? Honestly, I was a little nervous at this point, because I knew this was by far the luckiest run I had so far. Oh my god, I just know I'm gonna throw this somehow. And that makes me extremely upset. I think this is it. I just need to not throw. I just know I'm going to. After making quick work of the stage 1 bosses and farming the final swarm for a bit, I proceed to stage 2. Things began to get dicey rather quickly. Without poison from moldy cheese, I was lacking boss damage, and I couldn't activate my gas mask either. Eventually though, I finally managed to pick one up, which would allow me to kill the bosses much faster and progress much deeper. With how tanky I was able to hold out here for a pretty long time, but things quickly got out of hand. Oh fuck. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's not good. No, 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 no. I swear I can make it back. I can make it back. No! Let me to the portal, you fucks. Okay, yeah. Oh, thank God. By the time stage 3 started, I was insanely strong. And it wasn't long until I'd overcome my previous kill record. At this point, I'd make the biggest mistake of my run. I'd forgotten that the tier 3 portal doesn't summon the boss, but instead teleports you to it, so I missed out on all the extra kills I could have farmed here. This was also pre-patch, where you were able to stay in the final swarm for up to 60 minutes before they became invincible. So it's safe to say I missed out on a lot of kills here. I was pretty heartbroken honestly, but I tried not to let it show. The final boss is a real pain. At the start of the fight, he will take all weapons away from you except the one you start with, and at various HP intervals become immune while you have to deactivate the shrines. This is extremely annoying because while he's immune, you cannot lifesteal, and this led to some insanely close calls. Oh my god, I might die. I have nothing to lifesteal off. Oh, I swear to god, if I fucking throw this. Oh, I'm gonna cry. I could have farmed more, I forgot that it doesn't... It just teleports you. Oh my god, I'm fucking 1 health. Okay, it's fine. I think we can kill him now. Oh my god, that was so close. Holy shit. With the boss now dead, all I had to do was kill as many mobs as possible before I went blind from the increasingly bright lights. Throughout this stage, I think I might have spent more time leveling than actually playing the game. At around 100k kills, it was starting to get so bright, I decided to just turn off the lights in my room and enjoy the show. There we go. Oh my god. So does anyone have any life problems they want to talk about while I'm not occupied? At 166k kills, I'd finally get one shot, but with more than 10 times the kills of my previous record, I was absolutely stoked. I died. I just insta-died. Okay, that was a run though. 166. New record, hell yeah it is. A bit more recently, the dev released a new patch with a bunch of changes and bug fixes coming along with it. One of the changes was to fix Spaceman's passive, which wasn't working correctly before. Spaceman's passive grants him increased XP gain every time he levels, and I wanted to try dropping the XP tome completely and replacing it with attack speed. I was hoping that with an extra combat tome early, despite initially being lower level, I'd be able to kill things quicker and therefore scale faster. I had a lot of difficulty with Spaceman at first. His early game is extremely weak, with his starting weapon being Black Hole. And pretty frequently I'd simply be unable to kill anything fast enough. I also struggled a lot on the desert map because Spaceman has this low gravity passive, and if I ever walked too close to one, I'd be launched, well, pretty much into outer space, losing precious time that I couldn't afford. Eventually, I decided to move over to the forest map instead. The forest terrain is definitely more difficult for slower characters like Spaceman, but the bosses are significantly easier, and most importantly, there are no tornadoes. While there were exploding bugs that could launch you, it wouldn't be as far and wasn't normally as much of an issue. Through a combination of good early items and a few rerolls for better weapons, I started to consistently make it through the tough early game stage. After a few more failed attempts, mostly dying in tier 1 or tier 2, I'd finally get a good run with a lot of legendaries. Up until this point, I hadn't experimented much with staying deep into the ghost waves, but if you want high scores, it's kinda necessary for both the kills and the scaling you'll gain from it. This time, I'd actually remember to not immediately go through the tier 3 portal, and a timely hourglass let me stay a full 7.5 minutes to farm kills. Remember, this is also after they massively changed the final ghost waves to be deadlier far earlier. As I said before, the upper limit of how long you could stay was about 60 minutes, and now I believe it's about 12 minutes. Either way, the point is that it's a lot harder to survive now, so getting big kill runs is much more difficult than before, and staying 7.5 minutes seemed really solid to me. Now, fully juiced up, I managed to survive the final stage for 9.5 minutes and set a new record of 188 kills. I'd love to show you the end of this run in its full glory, but you'll see that so much was happening on the screen that all I have left to show is a PowerPoint presentation of the final moments. I'm not even kidding, like here I am editing this video right now, I'll play this footage for you so you can see it's moving here on the timeline, but it is just absolutely frozen. And I don't know why it did this, because on the other ones it's totally fine, but for some reason this run was just absolutely chalk. So if you're lucky, every 10 seconds we get to move a frame, and I think at the very end it does get close to the 188, but I'm not sure if it ever actually should. Oh, there we go. So yeah, just in case you wanted to see that. With my strat proven, all I needed now was to refine it just a little further and then send attempts until I hit the right combination of items. I would spend attempt after attempt dying over and over, just waiting for the stars to align, until finally they did just that. Our final run begins with finding a legendary vendor straight off of spawn. He sells some great items, with pretty much all 3 being a solid choice. I decide I'll come back to him when I have a bit more gold and continue to farm in the meantime. Pretty early on, I managed to find another vendor, this time selling a cleaver, which I make sure to pick up as soon as possible. The extra lifesteal and blood mark is super good scaling damage and makes the game a lot easier. It isn't long before I get an hourglass out of a Maui head, and yet another legendary vendor who sells me a chunk plate. As I said previously, Chunkblade gives lifesteal and overheal, so combined with the cleaver that I've already picked up, it's going to make me insanely tanky. Before the stage ended, I went back to pick up the gas mask and magnet from where I spawned and headed into stage 2, being absolutely loaded with items. Now stage 2 was dull for the most part. I continued to run around farming as much of the map as I could to get a bit stronger, and I got another cleaver towards the end and then hit my first snag. At the time the second stage was nearing the final swarm, I had yet to pick up any extra jumps, and I hit a moment of pretty extreme panic when I couldn't get back up to the boss without having to path all the way around. Well, it's fine. I guess we don't need jumps where we're going. Actually, can I even get up here without jumps? Get on the rock? Shit. Oh, I'm in trouble. At this point, I had no idea how strong I really was, and I thought for sure I'd thrown the run. Turns out though that my insane combination of blood mark, lifesteal, and armor allowed me to tank the boss and the final swarm at the same time with really little to no issue. Since I had an hourglass, I decided I would just try and stay here as long as possible and rack up as many kills as I could. I managed to fit myself between some terrain, which I think made it a bit more difficult for the ghost to actually get to me. At 5 minutes onwards though, I started to get pushed around by the ghost. And it got to some pretty extreme levels, even pushing me outside of the map. Finally, at 6:30, my hourglass activated and I had to make an absolutely mad dash to the portal. This was extremely close, and I actually thought I wasn't going to make it, but at the last possible moment, I did make it through and save the run. In Tier 3, everything really started to come together. I hit a dagger, 2 more hourglasses, a lamp, and some extra jumps. Unfortunately, I didn't get an anvil, which is pretty sad, but still, at this point, I was insanely strong. I spent the entire Tier 3 wave just walking around one-shotting things while I collected chests and eventually got another dagger. I also want to point out here just how insanely broken Idle Juice is for a blue item. These bad boys were just straight doubling my damage until I started getting pushed around. At 8 minutes 30, I lost another hourglass and decided to go through it with a whopping 153k kills already in the bag. Before I could face the Tier 4 final swarm, I'd have to defeat the final boss, which was interesting to say the least because I couldn't even see him for most of the fight, and the moment I got my weapons back, I pretty much instantly one-shot him. Wait, might get executed? Oh my god, I one-shot him! It was time for the final swarm to begin. Very early on, I hit a third Idle Juice to increase my damage further, and sadly I also hit an anvil after I'd already maxed out all of my weapons. Not 3 minutes into the final swarm, and I had already cleared my previous record. I knew at this point I was probably never going to beat this, so I had to lock in and take it home. At 5 minutes here, you can see the insane amount of damage I have, although it does drop steeply whenever I move, so I have to be very careful going to pick up chests. Not long after, I hit yet another dagger, which continues to scale my damage. My build at this point was as sensory overload as it's gonna get. I saw the dev plans to add options to make things easier to see in the late game, but to be totally honest, I fucking love that my screen is just covered in blinding lights. I'm not really sure why, I just think it's awesome. At around 7 minutes, I decided I wasn't going to move anymore until my hourglass procced in order to keep my huge damage buffs. I managed to get it all the way to 173 times damage amp before I finally got hit at 10 minutes and my Zonya got procced immediately. I immediately ran to all the chests to try and get one more hourglass, but to no avail. I launched in the air to go all out in one final blaze of glory, and at 272,000 kills, I finally died. I'd achieved my 0.1% run, putting me at rank 1019. And so ends the story of how I conquered Megabonk. If you guys enjoyed it and want to see more, I'd appreciate it if you take the time to like and subscribe. I've also never made a video like this before, so if you have any feedback, leave it in the comments section below. I also have a couple other YouTube channels already, which I'll put in the description, so you can check those out if you want to see more content right now. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.